If you've heard of this, chances are you have not been able to resist watching Money Heist. And in that effort, you've been blown away by the beautiful story and a brilliant heist. But what many claim to be a one-of-a-kind story is, after all, a story. If you thought that the heist at the Royal Mint and the Royal Bank of Spain were the only robberies that could make you go wow, you're mistaken. Imagine if there was a real heist that could parallel the genius of the professor and his partners. There is. Even before Netflix launched its streaming services in 2007, there was a heist that looked like a work of fiction. The heist is known as Brazil's Banco Bank heist. But before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on anything. While Sergio's story in Money Heist is believed to have begun with his father, real stories are rarely as complex. The story for the heist began with its mastermind called Luis Fernando Ibero. Just like the professor couldn't have completed his heist on his own, Ibero needed people for the heist. So he went about gathering people for the heist. The 26-year-old mastermind gathered a gang of 25 people to put his brilliant plan into action. The target for the heist was the branch of the central bank at Fortaleza, Brazil. If the selection of the central bank had anything to do with a symbolic message like the money heist, we're unaware, but speculators do say the heist was meant to reveal the corruption in the country. The heist took place on August 6, 2005. However, it would be a gross overestimation to believe that this is where the heist really began. In fact, the heist needed a preparatory stage. So if you can really trace back the heist to where it began 3 months before, in May 2005. The first step was renting out a small property about a block away from the branch of the bank. The plan was to dig an underground tunnel from this property to the bank's vault and transport the money back to the rental. But how do you dig an entire tunnel without being noticed? How would you dispense tons of dirt from the ground? Easy, you put up a front. The front for this heist was a landscaping company. But rather than simply work like a landscaping company, they made people believe in their front. They made people believe that the site was under renovation. They put up a sign on the front yard saying synthetic grass and rented a van advertising the landscaping company. They even went as far as to print leaflets to distribute around the neighborhood and market their new company. That's why when everyone saw vans full of soil being removed, they didn't bother to investigate. Next came the tunnel. To make sure they didn't make a lot of noise, the gang decided to stick to light tools. To dig the 13-foot hole, they used electric saws, bolt cutters, GPS, and horse shovels. Once they had gone enough vertically, it was time to go horizontally, so they began digging towards the bank. Of course, it takes plenty of time to dig when you use only light tools. That's why the plan took 3 months to implement. They were digging a tunnel with a diameter of 28 feet and a length of 260 feet. But how is it that the tunnel didn't collapse on their heads? The answer is that they did a very good job at building the tunnel. The tunnel was stabilized with wood paneling. That's not it though, they had their own lighting system and even a heating system inside the tunnel. If anything, these people were not new at what they were doing. Later on after the heist, it was found that the work could not have been done without engineers and expert miners. Moreover, there was no shortage of funds. It was estimated that the tunnel cost around $200,000 to construct. But at the end of it all, there was one motive for the effort: to get rich. So on August 6, 2005, they finally began the heist. They cut through 3.6 feet of steel reinforced concrete walls to get into the vault of the bank. The question that anyone would ask here is, how could the bank not have any security systems to monitor the integrity of the safe? Well, it did have those measures in place. The probable reason that the alarms didn't go off was that there was an insider involved in the job, and in fact there was. Once through the walls of the vault, what came next was transporting the money. And to give you an estimate of how much money there was, we'd rather tell you the weight. The cash weighed around 3.5 tons. This cash was transported to the rented property from where it was picked up in vans and taken to unknown locations. The total value of the money taken was 160 million Brazilian reals, or 70 million US dollars. When the bank management arrived on Monday morning, they found the vault empty. The news spread like wildfire. How could it be that the Central Bank of Brazil was robbed and nobody knew about it for 2 whole days? The question was a serious one and cast doubt on the integrity of several top officials in bank management. It shook the system and a full-fledged investigation was launched. When the people jumped into the tunnel, they found large amounts of chalk to cover their tracks, but fingerprints were still found. What mostly gave away the heist was the mistake of one person. One of the gang members went out the very next day of the heist and bought cars. No, not 1, not 2, but 10 cars, and the payments were made in cash. Once the police had him, they had all the details they needed because apparently the gang did not prepare for such a contingency where someone could be caught. On the other hand, the police also apprehended 3 pickup trucks carrying 2.13 million Brazilian reals. Sometime later, the police also recovered another 5.22 million reals and caught 5 more men who had helped dig the tunnel. A number of arrests took place in the aftermath, and the police found evidence in the form of prepaid phone cards to track suspects. They found money in trucks, buried under houses, and several other places, but even today, the only amount that could be recovered was a total of 20 million reals. Perhaps the little success that the police did have in the investigation was the capture of prominent figures in robbery. These included people nicknamed the Big Boss, the Armadillo, and the German. The Armadillo was sentenced to 17 years of jail but only served 2, and the German was sentenced to 70 years of jail time. However, Big Boss managed to escape prison in 2011 and has been on the run ever since. There's a reason why he's called Big Boss after all. But there was another feature to the aftermath of the robbery. The police had discovered about 6 kidnappings by April 13, 2006. These were people who had been involved in the heist, kidnapped for ransom that their relatives paid. In one of these kidnappings, the mastermind was also caught. His family had paid about 900,000 reals in ransom, yet Ibero was killed. He was shot 7 times and his body was bound near Kamandukaya. Justice comes for you after all. Many believe that the ingenious method that Sergio found to escape the Royal Mint was inspired by the Banco bank heist. But if you think that the real heist from Banco didn't catch the eye of the film industry, you're wrong again. The story of the heist caught the eye of director and producer Marcos Paulo Simoes, who made a movie on the heist in 2011 titled Federal Bank Heist. Of course, the movie did introduce its own plots, side stories, and characters. The movie then went on to be a success. Just on its opening show, there were more than 325,000 spectators that came out to see the film. But there was more than just the movie in the aftermath. The people that escaped the heist tried to recreate it in 2011 by digging a tunnel to the Sao Paulo branch of Brazil's central bank. However, they were caught this time. This is because several members of the heist were already on the radar of law enforcement. Had they succeeded in this heist, it would have gone down to be one of the biggest heists ever. Before they were caught, they had already dug a tunnel of 2,000 feet. But when you have $97 million as motivation, 2,000 feet doesn't seem like much. Well, that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, let us know by giving it a thumbs up. We'll see you in another video, so stick around folks. Until then, take care and goodbye.